The air inside the Crystal Monarch Hotel shimmered with a golden glow that made every chandelier, every mirrored pillar, and every jeweled guest look unreal, almost heavenly. Yet what happened that afternoon would split heaven wide open. The gala was meant to honor philanthropist and billionaire Axton Vale, but instead, the moment that stole every breath came when a woman in a scarlet gown, his rumored mistress, Seraphine Lorne, pulled him close and kissed him in full view of the world. Gasps cut through the gala like broken glass, cameras flashed, guests froze, and at the grand staircase, holding the rail with one hand and her 8-month pregnant belly with the other, stood the woman everyone believed was too fragile, too gentle, too forgiving to explode. But Maeve Vale did not break. She descended the staircase with a calmness so chilling that even the orchestra faltered mid-note. What she did next would become the most talked-about moment of the decade. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, growth, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light. Your support keeps these stories shining. Maeve had always been the quiet center in Axton's loud, powerful world, a soft, voiced schoolteacher who fell in love with the businessman long before he became a global icon. Their life together wasn't perfect, but it was tender, steady, and full of dreams whispered in warm kitchens and long car rides. When she learned she was pregnant, Maeve believed it was the universe's way of confirming she had chosen right, that love could rise above status, above expectations, above all storms. But storms grow silently, too. Axton had grown distant in recent months, lost in boardrooms, charity events, and meetings that stretched endlessly into nights. He'd assured her it was temporary. He'd held her hand, kissed her forehead, and told her she was his universe. Yet Maeve had felt a shifting, like a slow, dangerous tide pulling something important away. She hadn't expected this, though, not a public betrayal dripping with spectacle and humiliation. As Maeve reached the final step, a hush sealed the ballroom. Axton spun toward her, his face draining at the sight of her. Seraphine's smirk wilted, realizing her victory might not have been a victory at all. People whispered, phones recording every move, anticipating Maeve's collapse. But she didn't fall apart. She walked with a grace far too steady for someone whose soul had just been pierced. Instead of confronting her husband or the mistress, Maeve walked to the stage where Axton had been standing before the scandalous kiss. Her gown, a pale gold sill, shifted like liquid sunlight around her. She steadied herself at the microphone. For a moment the world held its breath. She spoke in the calmest voice imaginable, not trembling, not weak, not angry, just heartbreakingly human. Maeve thanked the charity organizers, she thanked the donors, she thanked the staff. She then thanked the guests for showing up to support a cause she deeply believed in: children's health access, a cause she had championed long before she became Mrs. Vale. She didn't mention Axton, not once. She didn't have to. Her composure was a blade sharper than rage. When she finished, Maeve bowed lightly and stepped down, placing her hand on her belly as though reminding herself she wasn't alone, not truly. And without demanding answers, without humiliation, without a single tear shed in public, she turned and walked out of the ballroom. That walk stunned every guest. It was strength wrapped in heartbreak, dignity wrapped in devastation. Outside the venue, daylight poured across the marble courtyard like a blessing she didn't feel she deserved. Her breaths came unevenly, her fingers trembled. She finally let the tears fall, silent, heavy, honest. Maeve didn't go home. She couldn't walk into a place filled with memories of trust. Instead, she called the only person she knew would arrive without questions, her older cousin, Arden Miles, a woman whose loyalty was unshakable. Arden picked Maeve up, bundled her into the car, and took her to her quiet sunlit apartment across the river. The moment Maeve sat on Arden's couch, the weight she'd been carrying, not just the betrayal but the months of subtle fear, broke her open. She cried until her breathing turned ragged. Arden held her, whispering strength back into her bones. Axton called many times. Maeve didn't answer. He texted, apologized, pleaded, explained that Seraphine had forced himself onto him, that he pushed her away after the shock of the moment, that he never wanted or expected that woman to kiss him. But whether it was true or not didn't matter in that moment. Trust wasn't built on explanations, it was built on consistent choices, and Axton's choices had left Maeve alone too often. For days she remained with Arden, trying to breathe through the pieces of her broken world. Pregnancy made everything sharper, every fear, every sorrow, every wonder about what would happen next. Despite her pain, Maeve's heart ached not for revenge but for clarity, for peace, for a place to plant her feet again. Axton meanwhile spiraled. He cancelled meetings and charity tours. He shut down appearances. The media painted him as the villain of the year, while Seraphine basked briefly in the attention before disappearing under the weight of public backlash. He tried to visit Arden's apartment, but Arden blocked him at the door with a glare so fierce he never attempted again. Still, he didn't give up. When Maeve finally agreed to meet him, not to reconcile, but to speak, Axton arrived looking worn, his impeccable composure cracked at the edges. They met at a quiet riverside park, the sun warm, the water sparkling softly in the daylight. Maeve listened as he explained that the kiss was a manipulation, a publicity stunt Seraphine had planned, that he had never loved anyone but her, that he had been overwhelmed, exhausted, careless about boundaries, but not unfaithful in body or heart. He admitted his flaws, his neglect, his blindness, his fear that he wasn't enough for the gentlewoman who saw so much good in him. Maeve didn't interrupt. She didn't argue. She just listened, holding her stomach where her baby kicked gently, as if reminding her of the future stretching beyond this pain. When he finished, Maeve spoke softly. She didn't berate him, she didn't accuse him, she simply told him the truth. She needed time, real time, not a day, not a week. She had to protect her heart and, more importantly, her child. Axton nodded, tears slipping down his face, the first she had ever seen from him. He told her he would wait, however long she needed. He promised to earn back the trust he had shattered. Whether she returned to him or not, he would support her and the baby wholeheartedly. Months passed. Maeve moved into a small garden cottage Arden helped her find, a warm, quiet place filled with sunlight, plants, and soft colors. She took birthing classes. She painted the nursery in soft sage green. She read stories aloud to her unborn child. She found pieces of herself again, pieces she forgot existed beneath being a billionaire's wife. Axton respected every boundary. He sent baby items only when she asked. He attended doctor appointments but sat in the waiting room unless she invited him in. He transformed his life too, stepping away from brutal work hours, investing in mental health initiatives, and learning to be a present, grounded human instead of a polished figurehead. People talked, the world watched, but Maeve didn't care. She was living for herself and her child. On a crisp morning in early spring, Maeve went into labor. Arden rushed her to the hospital. The hours stretched long, painful, exhausting. When the nurse asked if the baby's father should be notified, Maeve hesitated, then nodded. Axton arrived breathless, terrified, and profoundly respectful of where he stood in Maeve's life at that moment. Maeve didn't ask him to leave. She didn't ask him to stay. She simply let the moment unfold, and when their daughter, tiny, warm, entered the world with a soft cry, Maeve saw Axton break into quiet, reverent tears. When she held her baby against her chest, something inside Maeve softened, not toward Axton, but toward herself, toward the way life, even in its most painful seasons, could still bring immeasurable beauty. They named the baby Isla Mee. In the weeks that followed, Axton visited often, always asking permission. He loved Isla with a tenderness that surprised everyone. Maeve watched him, not through the lens of past hurt, but through the clarity of the present. He was trying, Imperfectly, humbly, consistently. Healing wasn't a straight line. Some days Maeve felt close to forgiving him. Some days she felt oceans away. But for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that she didn't have to decide everything at once. She just had to take the next right step. One afternoon, as Maeve rocked Isla on the cottage porch, sunlight spilling over both of them, she realized something. Strength wasn't about holding everything together. It was about knowing when to let go, when to rebuild, and when to choose peace for yourself. Axton walked up the garden path holding a bouquet of soft pink peonies, Maeve's favorites. He didn't try to kiss her, didn't try to reclaim what had been lost. He simply sat beside her in silence, watching Isla sleep, grateful for the chance to be there. And in that quiet, with birds singing in the distance and their daughter's tiny breaths filling the warm air, Maeve felt her heart begin, slowly, gently, to open again. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul of Light to support more stories that remind us of courage, healing, and the beauty of second chances. And before the ending, please comment below what part of Maeve's journey moved you the most.